everybody, it's Chelsea of the Lit Sisters, and today I'm doing my February book haul. These are all the books that I bought in the month of February. I bought 10 books in the month of February, so pretty small haul for me, I guess. I don't know. 8 of them came from book outlets, so let's start with those. The first book I bought is Inside Out and Back Again by Tahana Lay. I'm sorry if that's not how you pronounce it. Bad pronunciation. This is like a book of poetry, and it's about her family and like during the Vietnam War and how it affects her family and things like that, but it's all told through poems. And this is technically a kid's book, but it sounded really interesting to me, and it won the Newbery Award as well as the National Book Award, so I'm excited to check this out. It seems really interesting. The next book I bought is Good Kings, Bad Kings by Susan Nussbaum. This I talked about in my March TBR because it is on my to-read list for this month. And just to briefly go over it again, I'll read the back. It's Bellwether Award winner Susan Nussbaum's powerful novel invites us into the lives of a group of typical teenagers, alienated, funny, yearning for autonomy, except that they live in an institution for juveniles with disabilities. This unfamiliar, isolated landscape is much the same as the world outside. Friendships are forged, trust is built, love affairs are kindled, the rules are broken. But those who call it home have little or no control over their fate. Good Kings, Bad Kings challenges our definition of what it means to be disabled in a story told with remarkable authenticity and in voices that resound with humor and spirit. This just sounds really interesting. It won the Penn Bellwether Prize winner for socially engaged fiction, so I'm really excited to read it this month. The next book I bought is actually a biography, which I haven't read too many of, and this is I Am Malala, and it's by Malala and Christina Lamb, I guess, helped her write it. And this is a memoir of the youngest Nobel Prize winner in history, if you don't know much about her. She's way younger than me. I think she was like 16 when she wrote, 15 or 16 when she wrote this, but she's an activist for girls' education, and she's faced some opposition because of that, including being shot in the face by a terrorist group and surviving. It's pretty... I think her story will be really interesting to read, so I'm excited to check this one out. Also, this is a large print edition, not for any reason other than that was the kind that they had up on Book Outlet, so whatever. The next book is Far, Far Away by Tom McNeill, and this just sounds like a really interesting little fantasy novel. This is where it says, in a small town where nothing ever happens, everything is about to change. Jeremy Johnson's life has just begun to feel like a cruel fairy tale. He hears voices, strange whisperings, so the citizens of the small town of Never Better treat him like an oddity and an outcast. Meanwhile, his mother takes a bite of cake so delicious it's rumored to be bewitched and runs away with another man. Jeremy's heartsick father goes into his room and stays there unhappily ever after. Then the town's cultish, copper-haired adventuress takes a bite of the enchanted cake herself and falls in love with the first person she sees, Jeremy. In any other place, this would be a turn for the better for Jeremy, but not in Never Better, where the finder of occasions, whose identity and evil intentions nobody knows, is watching and waiting and watching. So it just sounds really interesting, like a really interesting kind of creepy kind of fantasy tale, and I'm excited to check this one out. Also, this is a pretty cool cover. It's clear, so it's just got like a film over it. The next book I have is Afterworlds by Scott Westerfeld, and I've heard this talked about on BookTube before. I'm really excited to read this. It's about a girl who wants to publish a novel and the like struggle that she goes to, and then I think like every other chapter is the novel that she's actually writing. So this seems like it'll be really interesting. It's a pretty sizable book, I'm guessing because of the every other chapter kind of thing. But yeah, it looked interesting, it caught my fancy, and it was really cheap because it's a scratch and dent, but as you can see, it's got some wear on the top, but it's not really that damaged. The next book that I got is the Shadowhunters Codex by Cassandra Clare and Joshua Lewis. If you've been following me on the channel at all, you know I've been reading a ton of the Shadowhunters novels lately, so I just figured this would be a good thing to pick up. Book Outlet had it for pretty cheap, so yeah, I'm excited to read this, like the little like I guess guide to being a shadow hunter. So this should be a pretty interesting read. Oh, that's where my receipt was. The next book that I got, and the last book that I bought from Book Outlet, is Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. Now, I've read the first two in the Throne of Glass series. I'm very excited to check out this third installment. I'm purposefully keeping myself as unspoiled as possible for the series, so I can't really give you a summary because I didn't want to read the summary. I just know that this is going to follow Selena as she goes off into that other land. I can't even remember what it's called. It's been a while since I read Crown of Midnight, so I'm gonna have to refresh myself a little bit, but I'm excited to check this out. Ooh, it's a big book too. Excited. The next book that I picked up is The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak, and then this is like a really pretty anniversary edition. It's all white, as you can see. I think it's gorgeous, and then the inside's like this. It's the most interesting copy I've seen, which is mainly why I picked it up. And I don't know if you can tell, but there's all these like doodles in this book that they're just part of the book in general, but if you look at the naked copy of it, it's got it embossed onto the book, which I think is really cool. It's such a pretty copy, I just couldn't resist it. Also, a quick summary for this. If you don't know, it follows a little girl during World War II in, I think she lives somewhere in like Germany-ish area, in Nazi Germany, yeah. And it's her story, basically narrated through Death's point of view, so it's pretty interesting. It's got all sorts of acclaim, and I'm really excited to read this when I get to it. I've got a long list, but this will probably make its way up on there. The last book in my book haul was actually a gift to me from my wonderful friend Jennifer, and that is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. And this is a really interesting kind of book. It's like set in a weird future where like she has this like weird power or whatever that not a lot of people have, and it's actually illegal to have this power. And so she gets like abducted and taken to Oxford, which in this world is like a fairy tale place. So I'm very excited to check this out. It sounds really interesting. It's the first in a series, so hopefully it will get me hooked into the series. It's a really pretty book too. Like, I like this book a lot. All the like designs, and look at the nakedness. It's like really pretty. I like it when books are pretty naked. I think we've established that on this channel. That I'm really excited to check this out. This is Chelsea from the future, who realized that she only talked about 9 of the books in her haul and forgot to talk about After the Snow by S.D. Crockett, so I'm amending that. This is a like post-apocalyptic kind of dystopian world type of book. Everyone is gone is the tagline up here. Basically, it's about this boy who's always been raised alone with his family, but then something happens and his family gets like taken or something and he has to get to safety himself. Sounds really interesting. It's got like this cool prequel book to it called One Crow Alone, but I'm really excited to read this one first. It was a William C. Morris Debut Award finalist, so it's got pretty good reception, and it's a New York Times Editor's Choice. That's interesting, so I'm excited to read this. After the Snow by S.D. Crockett. So that is my book haul. I'm now going to try to pick it up because that's what we do on BookTube. My book haul! Woo! We did it! I picked it up! Yay! Ooh, significantly easier than my last book haul. So that's it for my book haul. Please let me know in the comments down below what you think. Do you like the books I purchased? What kind of books did you purchase? Just talk to me in the comments down below. I love talking to y'all. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Heather should have her video up on Friday. And until then, happy reading!